What it smells like is bad garbage or wet, like moldy clothing.
Something rotten like. It got pretty bad at one time, you know.
On a bad day, it's like it comes through the windows. Some days we have asthma attacks, some days we don't.
Industrial odors are raising concerns of environmental racism in a historically black neighborhood in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
The residential areas in the Northside are very close to the graphic packaging paper mill, essentially right next door. If you were to draw a 2,500-foot radius with the factory in the middle, you've got a hospital, you have schools, local businesses, you have a trail.
Graphic Packaging is a manufacturer of recycled paperboard based in Atlanta, Georgia.
In the summer of 2020, I was contacted by some Northside residents who were pretty upset about having to be, essentially under quarantine during the early stages of the COVID pandemic. At the same time, this pervasive industrial stinking is making that, kind of unbearable for a lot of them.
MLive's investigation found the city of Kalamazoo's odor monitors near the graphic packaging paper mill were regularly detecting hydrogen sulfide at or above levels at which the CDC says can begin to affect health. MLive also discovered the paper mill was cited 8 times by the state in the past decade for odor violations. The odors are believed to be hydrogen sulfide coming from the plant's wastewater. Graphic Packaging tells MLive it investigated each complaint and took necessary measures, but it does not agree it was the source of the odors in all 8 instances. A 2020 study paid for by Graphic Packaging and required by the state of Michigan found the mill's operations do not constitute an odor nuisance situation for its neighbors.
Talking about hydrogen sulfide gas concentrations, there's some levels that are in more of the nuisance category, where you say 10 part per million, where you smell it, our noses are very sensitive to it, but it's not to the level where it's going to cause any negative health effects. But if it's chronic over time, and we start looking at that over 20 part per million all the way up to 70, you could start seeing some eye irritations, some nasal irritations, even up to some respiratory distress. That's more of the indoor setting and more of like in factories, that type of thing.
State and federal toxicologists are currently studying whether the amount of hydrogen sulfide that has been detected in the area poses a public health risk. The state is specifically investigating asthma prevalence and related hospitalizations following an analysis of EPA data by Dr. David Ansell of Rush University Medical Center.
There's this very strong signal from that neighborhood that something is going on with regard to respiratory diseases in general and asthma specifically.
He compared air quality and asthma rates in 49007, the zip code that includes the Northside, to neighboring zip codes.
North Kalamazoo has the worst air quality of any neighborhood in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Every other neighborhood in Kalamazoo, besides 49007, is above the U.S. average. And the only one that's below, and significantly below the U.S. average, is 49007.
Dr. Ansell found asthma prevalence among adults in the zip code that includes the Northside is the highest in the region, and asthma hospitalization rates there are 5 times higher than in 2 of its neighboring zip codes.
Any child dies, it's so horrifying. It's like a nightmare I never wake up from. Like when my daughter died, it just took a lot away from me.
Deanne Winfield has lived in the Northside neighborhood her entire life. She says her twin daughters were diagnosed with asthma when they were 3 months old. At 17, her daughter LaPrice died of an asthma attack.
Over the years, her asthma got worse. We had to keep her confined in the house. She was allergic to the grass, the dirt, the pollen. She was allergic to everything. And then one day she had an asthma attack, which she couldn't be saved.
Now Winfield's 30-year-old son, DeAndre, is on a breathing machine because of his asthma.
My fear is mainly for my son. Every day I'm scared. Every night, all day, I'm scared. When I hear that machine go off, I go crazy. I'm up, I'm jumping, I'm running to make sure my son is still alive.
The north side of Kalamazoo was one of the areas of the city that was redlined. That sort of policy causes lasting damage, across generations. What you see now in that area is social and health inequities. The Northside neighborhood is actually the lowest life expectancy of any neighborhood in the city.
Graphic Packaging has owned the Kalamazoo plant since 1999. The paper mill itself has been around for more than 100 years.
Kalamazoo has a legacy of paper manufacturing that has really kind of left its mark on the environment. In fact, the Kalamazoo River is a Superfund site from Kalamazoo all the way 70-some miles to Lake Michigan due to the fact that there were historic PCB contamination in the sediment that was released as a result of the paper manufacturing for years and years.
Graphic Packaging borders Kalamazoo's wastewater treatment plant, which has its own history of odor complaints.
You can obviously see that we're neighbors and we kind of envelop each other. There's a lot of work that we've got to do together. The city owns the pipe networks, and those pipes are like chimneys or hallways or passageways where odors are going back and forth.
The city of Kalamazoo has spent millions upgrading its odor monitoring and mitigation systems. It is also building a biofilter that will trap and treat industrial odors at the wastewater plant.
The biofilter really is the that's the meat and potatoes project of getting this work done to get after the odors.
Graphic Packaging is expanding its plant to become the largest producer of recycled paperboard in North America. In September 2020, Kalamazoo approved a tax incentive package related to the expansion, but only if Graphic Packaging meets odor reduction benchmarks. Graphic Packaging tells MLive it has been working with experts and consultants over the past year and has made significant improvements to help reduce potential odors from its wastewater. The company says it's committed to the safety and well-being of its neighbors.
This is a residential community. There's no acceptable amount of odor that folks should have to live with. In fact, it's completely unacceptable. The community is going to be listened to at the City Commission. The City Commission is going to hold Public Service Department accountable. We're going to hold our industries accountable, and we're going to work together to make sure this community is a safe place for everybody.
But Deanne Winfield doesn't feel like she's being heard.
It's like, don't nobody really care. They don't care if we live or die. That's how I feel.
There's a saying that we had in patient safety, which I think applies to environmental and community health. What we tolerate, we promote. You have to ask yourself, why is this being tolerated? This is really important for the whole community to ask.